In the tunnel.
In the tunnel.
In the tunnel. You're listening to In the Tunnel.
Hello and Tunnel, episode number 1. That's more time off than we wanted, but
Yeah,
things happen. So,
holidays, stuff like that.
yep. Let's just hop straight into. So, first things first, right? What we'll talk about in NFL. Well, at the NFL is playoffs of half the games are done.
Yeah, so we know now that the Rams beat the Seahawks, and
Yep.
we know that the Bills have moved on against the Colts.
Yep.
So,
Then so the last game is going on while the
yep. Right now, the Buccaneers are up 10-0 on Washington, who is not dressing Alex Smith. So, whoever took Washington or the Buccaneers when they were only like -6.5 probably got a steal. Because right now, live betting it would be 13.5. Actually, no, 15.5. I just checked. So yeah.
obviously the same tomorrow, otherwise Kamara couldn't play.
Oh, he is coming back tomorrow. What about the whole other running back group? Are they all coming back hand and foot too, or is this like a unison kind of thing?
All I know, I've only been keeping track of Kamara. I know that if the game was played today, he would, but tomorrow he is.
Interesting. Kind of like when the Ravens Steelers game on that Wednesday was like, interestingly enough, like Mark Ingram would have been able to come back, and then he still didn't take the plane ride. That was weird. Anyway, yeah. So the big thing in wild card play so far, a lot of people are skeptical of the Titans because the Ravens are hot and the Titans' defense is not great. Obviously, people were skeptical of Washington because, for obvious reasons, record, roster, etc. I think people were probably skeptical of the Rams, but after what they did today, it looks very different.
I think have a little bit to after playoffs.
No, they won against Indianapolis in Week 16.
Oh, they did.
Yeah,
Dang, because I thought they were 12.
they lost to Cleveland last game. They decided they looked at it and they were like, well, this is the only chance that they get for their stars to really have a bye week because so even though they could have gotten the 2 seed if the Bills lost, they weren't going to get that bye week.
Yeah.
So a lot of their stars didn't make it, but they only lost by 2. So I guess my reaction is to what you said. I'm not sure that there's a lot to prove because just last week with no Ben or anything like that, so no TJ Watt, that they only lost by 2. I'm not exactly sure also what's going to look like for Cleveland. I don't know what's going on with their wide receiver Higgins and their first round pick offensive tackle Wells. They were caught drag racing in Cleveland on Monday night.
What the
Um,
heck?
so if they're suspended for the game, that changes things because we're already looking at a Browns team with no Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
and that would also favor the Steelers' defense, despite it having no Bud Dupree. So
Okay, I can see that. I misremembered, and I thought the
and
run a full.
well, let's also not forget the Browns head coach is not in. He has COVID, so he's not gonna be there either. So things get a little. I don't know. Like I think that the Browns could do it. A lot of people that I've worked, a lot of people I know who I talk betting with say that they like the Browns to cover, but I told a buddy of mine like he was going to take the Steelers in a parlay -5.5. I was like, why would you do that? You know that the Steelers are going to do what the Steelers do. Take them at 2.5 if you're going to put them in a parlay.
I mean, aside from that,
make it a field goal game.
Yeah. Aside from that, I don't really much. I expect the same. I now looking at
The thing with the Saints-Bears game is interesting, though, because Breeze can't throw the ball deep anymore, and the Bears' defense is finding their stride, and their offense, despite the fact that they played like the NFC's worst teams at the end of the season, their offense has kind of gained momentum.
But the problem isn't necessarily the offense as a whole, singular quarterback position. That, I mean, he's been doing good. Trubisky, I'm talking about, but still has those moments where you're like, what the heck is going on? And what version of him is gonna you had the beginning of the season Trubisky, which was terrible. You had their other it wasn't good, and even in playoffs, I wouldn't say that going.
Okay, well, just looking this up now, it looks like Michael Thomas, I think for like the first game this year, is going to be able to play with Drew Brees on the field. I think from what I've heard in radio shows this week is that Michael Thomas has only played in games this year where Taysom Hill and Winston played. So kind of coincidentally, he's been in when Brees has been out. So this would be maybe the first game they has him. I still don't trust Brees to throw a deep ball.
I mean,
don't get me wrong, but now he has his best option is back.
Yeah, but I also don't necessarily think that defense. I think while the Chicago defense is really good, I think Brees can find like the small holes that he when he was find the small.
I just don't know that the accuracy is there anymore. Like if you pay attention to some of the throws, it's making it out of his hand fairly miserably. There's been some real duck throws, real wobblers, and I think the overall consensus is this is his last year, as it probably should be.
I still think that it.
I do too, but I think the X Factor wild card is the Saints defense.
Okay, fair.
Because you know that the Bears defense is going to show up. You know that the Saints offense, because of its weapons, where if Breeze isn't on, there's Kamara, Latavius Murray, Taysom Hill, stuff like that. There's still options there. The X factor is, will the Saints defense be able to stop anyone? Because the Bears have now found a running game, which apparently it takes 3 weeks to find a running game when for the past 2 years they didn't have the ability to find it.
Yeah, I know. Their running game's been last game.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Take football while you can, because college football has one game left. Alabama and Ohio State, which I honestly am surprised Clemson didn't win, especially because, okay, and like we didn't have college football planned, but here's what you do if you're a college football coach. You do not put out a top 15 list of teams and say that your next opponent is like number 11. It's like, oh, here are my top 15 teams. Keep in mind this is a playoff system where there's only 4 teams. I have Ohio State at 11. And then when like the media asks you if you want to like take back anything, double down on it and be like, no, that's where I had them ranked. It's like, well, then when you lose to the number 11 team, what does that make you?
I stopped following college football. I mean, I really don't think Ohio State playoffs, especially, but
Yeah.
I digress.
I don't know. I don't know what I hate more, Gonzaga basketball or Dabo Sweeney.
I would say Gonzaga basketball.
Probably, but like it's really getting to a point where with Gonzaga basketball, it's like I see Instagram posts and I'm like, it's amazing because like people, it's like Instagram picture, who can stop Gonzaga? And I'm literally like, if they were in the ACC, 4 teams would stop them at the very least. I wasn't even the person in the comment section that answered Pitt. Somebody else already beat me to the punch. So yeah, that's where I digress.
All right, well, on our pretty terrible transition, we're going to the NBA.
Yeah.
All right, so the NBA season has started. In game.
Yep.
9 to 10. As far as the
Yeah. Yeah, the Lakers being the Lakers. The Sixers actually are now 8-2. They beat a team. Who did they beat today? Regardless of who they beat, they did it because of COVID protocols. They had no Ben Simmons. They had no Joel Embiid. They took the court with 7 players, and they won. Yeah, it's possible. It was done.
I mean, aside from that, like,
yeah, but the thing about the Nets is their record doesn't really matter right now because come the end of the season, it's like having. Speaking of transition of NFL to NBA, this will be more of a smooth transition. It's like having a Roethlisberger, a Rivers, or a Breeze. The health of them towards the end of the season is way more important than any of this stuff right now. So, I mean, yeah, Durant is out because of COVID, and Kyrie Irving is off on another mental mission of some sort to figure out himself during an. Look, I get that there's a lot of bad shit in the world, shootings and stuff like that, but Kyrie Irving, it's a little bit weird when he takes a break every time one hits the news. I don't know. But, kudos to him. He wants to make the world a better place. I just don't know that sitting out of a basketball game is, like, as many times as he has. It's like, the boy who cried wolf. It's like, eventually, it's like, well, Kyrie's just sitting again. So, but the Nets, they've won game, like they beat the 76ers when they had Simmons and Embiid with no Irving, with no Durant. I don't think they barely played DeAndre Jordan. They're really deep. They're really deep. So I think they'll be okay. I don't think Philadelphia's going to last in first for long. I think Boston, once they get healthier, and Milwaukee are obviously going to come shoot up the standings. Philadelphia, I don't know.
How about them Suns?
Look, right now they're about to be 7-3 or whatever. They're up 115-103, fourth quarter, 3 minutes left against the Pacers right now. So you'll probably see the Pacers move down a slot in a day or two. The Suns being now, again, tied for first in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
Not bad for a team that's young with only one real old guy on the team, and that's Chris Paul. And it's not a bad way to add veteran leadership.
And, like, the rest of the season, I'm sure, like, the season has been starting at, like, I've liked what I've only haven't like
hmm It's been more interesting now, just because because of the pandemic pushing schedules back and stuff. You kind of get more involved in the sports because you just want to have them back. Like with baseball, after the strikes and everything, like baseball is like it's that it's so good to have it back, like to have something in the summer to watch
yeah.
kind of thing. So you watch it, but like once it becomes stale, like for you, I imagine the NBA activity is eventually going to become stale in a week or two when hockey starts. Then things become different.
Yeah.
I will say that betting has obviously made it much more interesting for me, but you also understand that you root for offense in today's NBA, which kind of
I miss
is
the defensive
it,
NBA actually.
well, you root for offense because, or not root for offense, but offense is kind of what today's NBA is. It's not as yeah. So when you bet it, it's something that more aligns with bettors because everything that you look for in more capacity is what today's NBA is attainable for. So
All right, speaking of
yeah,
their
transitions.
their season, awesome. So
Okay,
first things first, have helmet ads.
yeah,
Uh,
we
so
have we have a discussion on this planned,
a couple of things.
kind of.
So, here's a picture of Crosby
hmm
having pee on his.
Yeah, I only chose this to just show how absolutely grotesque a helmet ad can be.
Yeah,
Because I saw some of the other ones
the
today.
Prudential one doesn't
They're
look too
not
bad.
as bad. Yeah, they're not as much of an eyesore. The Athletic, I guess, a day ago decided to rank 1 through 31, and some teams are actually doing dual stickers or dual ads. I don't know if it's left is one, right is the other, but some of them it looks like their home and away ads are going to be different.
Okay, because the black Prudential, like for the Devils, the black helmet with the looks, but
Yeah.
they put the blue Prudential logo on the white. I don't know if I'll be okay with it.
The weird thing is, like, it's not local sponsors in some of these instances. Like, for New Jersey Prudential, yeah, because they're based in Newark. But, like, and I'm sure Bridgestone Tire is kind of has a association with Nashville. But
Their
them
arena name.
yeah, I understand, but they're also on the helmet. It's like, you would think this would be an opportunity for, some other companies to get involved. Like, I don't like the Penguins having PPG, which is like the official paint of the NHL, or at least that's how they advertise it. Bridgestone being the official tire for like the last 15 years of the NHL. Like, if you're gonna do this, you do it different. Like St. Louis Blues, Enterprise.
But
Enterprise is,
like you have to look at the advertiser and how much revenue they 15
true,
I
but
see where you're coming from, and as much as I would like company
I
have
mean, not like mom and pop shops
local
because they're
or
not
like
going to be
based,
able to advertise on a helmet. But
yeah, but local, I get it.
yeah,
Like how Prudential has its headquarters.
right.
So
Yeah, exactly.
uh,
Like healthcare companies probably are big for that.
yeah, I mean, I think you guys could have gotten a healthcare company to advertise there. I don't know if
I'm Several teams did. In fact, let's see here. No, I saw at least a few of them earlier. I don't know what Stifle is for the Blues. That's one of the other ones. Um, let's see, not
I
Bridgestone.
mean what? So they're 31 or they're
Florida Panthers have Baptist Health. Let's see here. Ohio Health for the Blue Jackets.
that one makes all right.
Yeah.
All right.
And then the Coyotes have Dignity Health. And yeah.
All right. So
So at
anyway,
least 3.
like again, I'm not against like helmet ads. Sure, they
Mm-hmm.
could probably like uh where we start to have a problem though, in my opinion, is the abomination that would be ads on the ice.
Yeah, well, my thing is if the NHL is going to use advertisements, and we already debated this to some extent. My issue is where the NHL will rather take your head as a billboard, and then they'll probably do like jersey advertisements, and they'd rather paint a person as a billboard than kind of expand onto the ice where it's like, you've seen at baseball games, if a
Yeah.
home, like in St. Louis, if a home run hits like the Big Mac Land sign in left field, I'm pretty sure like they donate some money to like a local charity or
Yeah,
something.
but the thing, baseball's case, right? Those ads are off of, right? And also, if you look at it, right, if they were to start advertising the, right, if plays that use like pictures that are taken, they're not gonna take them downwards of the for anything advertisement. I would say that like helmet and actually,
But for marketing purposes, the ice is better because you're talking national broadcasts, you're talking 18,000 plus people in the stands of a sold out game. You're talking a larger target audience
but
than you
also
are
you're
for a
talking about
jersey.
looking at an abomination that is a bunch of ads on the ice. And then you
So
also have
what?
no consistency in how in a right.
Mm-hmm.
And while I do think that HL arenas are, I think that's for, and that is while I do that like maybe teams should get more control over what they can enter.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that we let it go further, lose if like we're not casual, we understand,
Mm-hmm.
but if you start to crowd the arena off, you're asking fans casual to start looking at all this stuff while trying to figure out what else. And I
I,
don't think
I
that's healthy for.
I guess I don't know. For me, it's more like again, a jersey doesn't really like. Let me take a step back here. The NHL of the major sports in America, in terms of revenue streams and total revenue, brings in the least amount of money of MLB, NBA, NFL, and by like a decent amount. Like the NFL and NBA bring in billions per year. The MLB probably makes close to $1 billion per year. The NHL makes about what 200 to 300 million a year.
I think it's been slightly going up every year.
Yeah, slightly going
We're
up,
due, but we're due to
but
get to the 500,000.
right, it's slightly going up and due to get to the 500,000, but at the same time, it's still probably 250 to 300 million dollars in revenue behind a game that hasn't really changed since the 1800s.
Right, but I think that this or kind of like populating the ice with advertisements isn't, it might be a solution, but I don't think that we should do it to such an extent that like infuse the average,
So
right?
what is your thought then about how for the World Juniors the USA had advertisements on their jersey? So why is a national team getting advertisements on their jerseys in likelihood that they're probably not getting paid very much to be in that tournament, being that they're juniors and that they're under contract with other NHL teams as prospects. But at the same time,
So
pros aren't getting
the thing is, right?
sponsorship deals like that.
The thing is, right? The NHL has to okay advertisements on jerseys at that level, right? It's not like Crosby or Hall can go get a sponsorship deal where he has to sew a patch onto his
Mm-hmm.
right. It's NHL and the NHLPA, so the Board of Governors will have to ratify that decision. And then
Okay,
it's
but
all
I have a
about,
hard time.
but
Go
then
ahead.
it's all about who has the control to put those advertisements on the jersey, right? So there's a lot of bureaucratic nonsense that has to happen in order for it to happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying that when you start talking about putting advertisements everywhere, you start talking about who can get the money for what. Can it be different, right? I'm not saying that it won't happen or not, it shouldn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
All.
Well, in that sense, I kind of have a hard time believing that the NHL didn't use this for their benefit before they okayed it for juniors, though.
But the World Juniors is not controlled by the NHL.
But the prospects that are signed to NHL level contracts are.
But they can be wearing a jersey that all their jerseys had the same advertisements, right? So the deal was probably signed national, not the NHL only has the authority to these players cannot participate. Advertisements on.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, we talked about this yesterday also in terms of jersey sponsorships because of the NBA and how the NBA has implemented, stitched endorsements and sponsorships onto jerseys for marketing as well. But at the same time, they don't sell jerseys with that. And you brought up the point when we talked last about that you want authenticity. You buy the jersey due to authenticity.
Yeah.
Again, and my point there was, again, this is the NHL making it hard on you because you already have to choose between a replica jersey, which costs probably like $110 to $130, and a full authentic jersey that costs $300. So do you cut your losses and say, I'd rather have the cheaper jersey or the full authentic, and that's before the sponsorship.
Right.
And then you're either one of the people who say, I really think that this, I don't want to be out and about endorsing this company either. I didn't sign the contract to do it. I'm not getting the money. So do I buy the replica jersey for the cheaper one because I don't want the ad, or am I spending more money and then feeling like, well, this just made the jersey uglier, and now I'm stuck with this logo on it.
But that's like a consumer choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. Like personally, like if I were to go buy an NHL, I don't know, China, I'd probably buy. Like I like the fact that that I have, even if the replica looks like the jersey on the ice. I mean, it's not the same, but But
yeah,
if they start putting ads on the jersey, I might change opinion, right? Like, don't know how they'll look yet. But
well, for me, location is part of the selling point for how much I'm into this.
Yes.
Because if it's like the NBA jersey where it's going to be like right on the chest, because hockey is good in that they kind of take away that possibility with the captaincy and assistant captain patches. Right, but you still have another shoulder area on the other that you could have a patch, and it's too congested for me.
Right, but like
if you want to take the Adidas logo and move it down under the numbers, or kind of like at the very bottom of the jersey where like a player, probably you don't see it because it's probably like tucked into their shorts or something like that, then that's fine. And then put the sponsorship like right above the back nameplate. Make it small.
Like they could do it in a way where they could like sell small sponsorships for like the shoulder
Hmm.
or something like that. Because the NHL jersey, so I mean, there's a lot of space, like small sponsorship, like a big one that's how it would.
Yeah. Oh,
But
so yeah.
like, and from all this, I still think like sponsorship deals for advertisements on helmets and
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Uh, the NHL needs to make more money. That much is very clear. Not only to recuperate some of the money that they lost last season,
also
but
they're gonna like the reason that the helmets have ads now is probably to recoup money that not having.
mhm. Yeah, but yeah, the NHL needs to grow, and whatever that may mean, at least for a short term basis, needs to happen.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, as we mentioned,
Hmm. So I used the flyer schedule for the graphic on this because they by far at the start of it because I was going to use the Devils schedule, but because the Devils play a bulk of their games to start off against the Islanders, Rangers, stuff like that,
yeah,
they don't get what the other 29 teams get,
yeah,
which is that a lot of what we're going to see this year is you play a team
actually,
twice. Well, not back to back days, but
well,
they're a few days apart. Most teams are going to play 2 games per week,
yeah,
and so expect for a week of you're playing the same team. And so it is a shortened season with only 50 some games, so there you don't have to worry about back to back days. But it's going to be interesting, and this is purely to limit COVID potential transmissions, exposures. We never did find out, and I guess we kind of did find out that the teams that wanted fans who were going to do like outdoor games instead, that never really amounted to anything. Plus, lawmakers weren't going to let that
yeah.
happen either. I mean, don't get me wrong; it would have been great if the Penguins played all their games in the Steelers stadium. It would have been awesome to watch every game outdoors.
But I'm like, even if it's outdoors, as like person, especially with the, gotta be careful.
I mean, not to get away from sports too much, but in about a week, in 10 days, something like that, people aren't going to be careful. And you can probably figure out why.
All right. Well, so the map of the teams that are playing, you'll notice that closest proximity
Hmm.
Canada is uh
Yep.
Wild have the trek to the Sharks or I United States.
Yeah. At least in terms of map view.
Yeah, Red Wing longest.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine that the Canadian teams have the longest treks, to
Oh
be honest
well,
with you.
I'm only talking about the U.S. right? The
Oh,
the
yeah.
Canadian teams are full East West, right? That's gonna
Yeah, but
that
that's
that
just a
by
lot of
itself is
landscape.
long.
Yeah.
But
Basically
I
like
mean,
going to Hawaii every day.
like the three Maple Leaf, they're pretty. The only one
Hmm.
that's kind of like that's
Yeah. Yeah, because wherever they go is a stretch.
yeah. But yeah, then the uh Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton are, I mean, that close, but it's
Yeah, I'd say St. Louis is, other than with Arizona there, St. Louis is kind of in a no man's land area. Not just geographically speaking, but, if they have a California road trip, that's a little out of the way, and then going to Minnesota kind of reverses itself.
if I'm not mistaken.
The Blues?
Blues are playing the Blues are on the.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about
Talking about Texas Avalanche.
yeah, Colorado Avalanche. My apologies.
But I mean, I'm just happy hockey's gonna be back.
Yeah, we'll see how long it lasts.
I'll be
The
watching.
Penguins, the Penguins already had to cancel and shut down camp because of COVID. Can't even make it to the regular season.
Corey Crawford retired for the day. Oh, who cares?
Yeah, how'd you like when I texted you do that? Congrats on Corey Crawford. You signed him this offseason, and he already retired before the regular
I
season.
mean, it's not like
Not that he was going to be the starter
Yeah,
anyway,
I know,
but like
right?
he was like the biggest free agent signing that the Devils have had in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
Like actual signing, not acquisition through trade.
yeah, but like it's whatever.
'Cause-
He wasn't gonna be our starter, so it
yeah,
didn't care too much.
yeah, but name wise, you weren't going to like acquisition wise. Name alone for PK Subban was like the biggest move the Devils made in years.
Yeah.
Again, in terms of talent, it hasn't really worked out, but name wise, it
Yep.
was huge.
All right. On to MLB. As we were just talking about it but the only thing we can talk about for the MLB the offseason.
Yeah.
So
So the Mets are under new ownership with Steve Cohen and his billions of dollars. Must be nice to go from low payroll to infinite money. Yeah, we'll never be able to see that. So under that new regime, we see difference in attitude. So Lindor, long rumored to be traded. There was going to be something. Is he going to be traded before last year? Is he going to be traded at the break last year? And then now, because he was entering the final year of his contract, now he's dealt. And it wasn't to the Dodgers or the Red Sox or the Yankees like all the rumors have been for the past year or so. Now it's the Mets. The Mets give up a couple of young players who I believe were on the major league team and a couple prospects. But they now have the money to go out and extend Lindor.
Yeah.
Which is something that Cleveland didn't have. And then they get Carlos Carrasco, which is a decent bullpen option too, which the Mets have not had decent bullpen in years. So
but
this is interesting.
All of the Mets' problems stemmed from the lack of monetary.
Well, yeah, that's what happens when you get in bed with Bernie Madoff as an athletic franchise.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, so
also the Mets are linked and rumored to be in on George Springer too.
all right.
He's so
who did the Mets give up?
George Springer?
No, for
Oh yeah, no, we already covered that.
they
Ahmed Rosario, Andres Jimenez, Josh Wolf, and Isaiah Green.
Yep. All right, and
Two of those guys were on the MLB team. I think Rosario and Jimenez. I could be wrong on the Jimenez part. I know Rosario was, and then the other two are prospects.
I know that I know a few people who will be happy that the Mets are spending money.
I imagine so.
Anyway, the only other piece I have for the
So these two trades happened a little bit ago, but it's important to make a note of the Padres sucked for so long and then turned it around. They got Eric Hosmer, Manny Machado. They had prospects that they didn't have to get rid of.
Yeah.
Then they go out, they acquire Blake Snell from the Rays, who were rumored to want to get rid of him. They get Yu Darvish from the Cubs. Mike Clevenger is on the team. He's out for this year, it looks like, looking at their rotation. Maybe Tommy John, I'm not sure. But at 100%, you have to think that they're the rotation to beat. So, I mean, I don't know if they had a new ownership group come in too, but it certainly seems like they were able to go from low payroll to high fairly quickly. They turned that ship around really quick. Yeah. It'll all work out great until they can't pay Tatis a new contract.
basic. All
So
right.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's our coverage of the four major sports. Wanna
I apologize for any technical difficulties, and we'll work to make sure that we don't have them next week. Right now, we're in a new apartment here. I am sitting with my feet on a stack of towels, and the light behind me is a bathroom. So things are. This was definitely the backup option.
Yo.
Like normally, I have the laptop on a desk, and you don't see the camera moving, but it's just in my lap today. So things are a little bit different, but they'll get fixed in.
All right. Well, catch you next.